Well, it's not annoying. All right, are we ready with the recording? Okay, I'll call the order. This is the meeting Monday, September 8th. We'll start with new business. Dan Cleveland. What allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ryan Rogerson,
Here.
Kevin Keeney,
Here.
Alan Schneider,
Here.
Tom Sexton,
Here.
Lois Schneider, Kevin Mills.
No, we curious that.
And why is RAC responding negative 4,571?
We also received the patronage credit, so they just took it off the very first. Instead of applying it to each meter, it looks like they just debited off the very first one. So I put the expenditures exactly how we were invoiced for those. So normally that bill is like just shy of $8,000.
No.
See the big thing here, see our injury release was hit on the anything. It is going away every 2 weeks-ish. I told them to contact me, turned up the $500 stuff. Kind of those. We're planning to start decommissioning that, so. The bids were out, for the time frame of the water. We have some kind of holding up with. Skiers. Kind of need that, Steve, that's bring up. A manufacturer having a truck in big set of years time, but all the manufacturers, even if we would buy them from. Seriously, the custom build from scratch in 4 years out, so that's just where the build process. Kind of knew that probably wouldn't have much just because people wanted to have the truck that would drive anything and don't meters. We're kind of in a crunch and we get vehicles. So Pearson going some back of it. One of the other ones applied back simply saying thanks for the opportunity, but they had nothing in their queue or in their stock program that they could allocate or change to do that we are needs and the other two stay there fine. It's just looking for. Has anyone got any questions on it?
If we did look at, I did provide a bit of a financing breakdown of how we would go about paying for this engine. So at the base price provided in the proposal by Reliant was $1,059,460. There is like a 3.68% optional prepayment discount if we were to do that, which would take about 39,000 off of this, which in that case would take us down to like what $1,220,460. However, based upon what our other, I guess, interest bearing options are at the point, I looked at, IPATE was currently showing, which is the Iowa, Public Agency Investment Trust. They're currently offering a 4.09% interest rate. F&M's 12-month CD is at 3.5%, and then our current money market account we have with F&M, is currently locked in at 4.07%, which would still beat that 3.68%. And then we also, with that, we would also have to come up with all the money up front. We would be able to hold that in case we need it for another use. And then, as a point Alan mentioned to me last week on our call, was prepaying. Sometimes doesn't really give the incentive to try to meet a deadline if it's already been paid. It's so we have that kind of holding against them. But as far as the detail of how it will be paid, we do have outstanding apparatus reserves for this current budget year. This is after the Polaris Ranger expenses. That brought us down to $106,650. And then we have another, as of now, the plan would be to budget another $126,750 for fiscal year 2027. And then we have an insurance anticipated payout. And this was based off of a document that Kevin Keeney sent out some questions and I responded, send those up to everyone. But there was I guess the breakdown of the claim showing how much we would receive, and it showed $787,525. And then with an interest assumption based off of the F&M money market at 4.07%, that could change depending on the market. And then that's also based upon, I guess that's a calculation of the total base price. So that would include what we would add in for budget reserves next year. So to getting into the simple interest calculations got a little unsimple by having to mess with all those contributions, but general idea, I just wanted to show what we would be able to come up with. And so all of that together would show $1,064,045,02, which would be enough to cover the base price, which I did confirm would cover the so it'd be the delivery of the engine, the engine, freight to get it here, and then there's some onboarding training and inspections with that. Yeah, all of that would be included. So obviously it wouldn't cover insurance, but we budget that for that separately. But I just wanted to show how we would go about paying for this. Is there any questions on that financing aspect of it?
Is that total the city money, or is that the money that insurance?
The city insurance.
Yeah.
So they will go at it.
Okay.
So Lois, what happened? So there, in the accident, the individual's coverage, I guess the claim exhausted all of our exceeded it. So in order for us to get, yeah, so we ended up, our insurance took on the claim as a total loss, and then they will be trying to recoup that from them on their end of things. So, yep. This is be our total of what we received. And that would be, like I explained in the email I sent out this morning, typically those get paid out fairly quickly within a few weeks of receipt of the vehicle, and then they'll be here in the next couple of weeks. So we should be receiving payout of that here in the next month or so, depending on when that actually gets picked up. So yeah, I don't think it's advisable, Kevin, especially when you think about work tying up.
My personal recommendations on having purchased double. I would wait till it's done, just if it's not that big of a discount, what's of it. If we could get our payment and insurance and keep our insurance company use that, so a little money the most, that's smart. smart way. Back in the day, we would do the early payment, but it was a substantial, you bigger discount on the price of the vehicle. So it made sense then. I would say we pay it pretty.
Even if interest rates were to dip and you think about the marginal cost between interest and what the discount would be, I think, it's difficult to put an exact number value on control of those funds over the next year, but you also don't know what's coming, and it's probably a good idea for us to, I guess, even for peace of mind, I think there's a bit of value to that and what we would, if there would any kind of loss between there and interest, I still think it kind of makes up in peace of mind and control in the situation. So
Yeah, yep. We will have a little bit different, look to it for a year or something, but. I'm sure there's something out there, I just, at the price, like from what little bit of looking I've done, like, it's gonna be pricey.
Yeah.
I think we'll be fine with what we have in-house and then with our excellent mutual aid program for bringing this.
This doesn't really relate to this, but do you expect that?
I hope not, but I don't know. There's a lot of things going on right now that, like, I know some cities have started looking into it on more of a national river scale of how long these are taking in cost. There's some early preliminary look at lawsuits going towards some manufacturers, so I don't know what's. I mean, it went from a 12-month thing to a 40-year thing like that. So. Oh, a lot of places, bigger cities started within multiple at time. Well, really.
Can't recommend when you want one.
Well, we did, kind of, because they had this one in mind, like if they would, if, here's what happened with stock building. We've been waiting for years. Other. Around it. I think what we got there is gonna be very peaceful for the very foreseeable future. We're going to see for 20 to 25 years, so it'll be very, very peace.
And if we look at the past, for original 2025-62, resolution to approve the purchase of rescue fire and years. Discussion. By Sexton, by Schneider, and Mel. Oops. It'll be black and red.
Thank you. It will match exactly what we have on the, yep. Same paint, colors, same graphics.
Nice. It'll be pretty.
It'll be nice, be very nice, but very functional. Guys have done a good job inside and working through the quick turnaround process. I mean, generally when we do this, like it's a year to design. And I mean, by the time we go out and look and figure out what we want, start designing and work through it with all, we would have more time when manufacturing. Knowing that we're building one unlimited options to do it. So yeah, it was a crunch quick, but it's turned out to be. Maybe you don't know what's the insurance.
So they'll either part it out or auction off as whole. So that's it's actually at the bottom of the form I sent out this morning. They stayed off in the bottom that the reason we need to like remove decals and all of our equipment is that anything that's is either not a part of the truck itself, we need to have gets our our property. And then we need to remove anything with the city of Riverside or Riverside Fire Department on there because it could be sold to anyone and we don't want to incur any reputational damage. They're not, I guess, responsible for anything that would occur because of that. So removing the decals and stuff like that is important because you see like school buses that get auctioned off and you can still see that it said Highland School District or someone on it and it's, or police cars like that too. So.
Yeah, and this, as much as big of a headache it is, I'll take this portion and you'll take the other option is gonna be not good.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Chad. I know you kind of, well, I guess my last thought is like it's overall, I think this situation is kind of a blessing in disguise. I mean, it's never good to have an accident or to have this kind of damage happen to a key piece of apparatus, but you look at the amount of funding we got back from insurance for this. I mean, we will either had to come up that ourselves or through or answer another source before. So I think it ends up working all right.
Work on that. Next up is the city manager report. It is. And it's a call on. It's been a while since I've been over the lecture. On the wellness center, on the notes there. And sounds like they had a good conversation and apply for a grant through them, at least through the application. So it's canola on that. Cherry Lane is getting close to being finishing up. They had some punch list items that they were working through. I think a lot of those are done, so they'll obviously monitor the site after CD comes in and things are going the way they're supposed to be as fall comes in and approaches here. So keep an eye on that. We heard anything from school with how traffic flow is working with that?
I mean, I have everything from the school directly, but I've heard some things from community members about it. But I think it also anytime you have a significant traffic change, especially concentrated like that, it's probably going to take a little bit for people to get used to it. I'll say we've also made some recommendations to the school district on some things they can do to help, I guess, inform parents on where they need to be going so that it would hopefully clarify the flow of traffic through there. I'll be honest, I haven't had time to go up there to check it to see if they've implemented that. I think some of it was also would take a little bit of time, which included some curb painting and sign installation. But I think it's probably going to take a little while for parents to kind of iron that out a little bit.
See traffic that is picked up on Clifton. So it's a lot busier up there, much better in that area, quite a bit.
Also, the traffic has to go somewhere. So if it was previously on Schneblin, some of that has been potentially diverted over to that area. And those streets are a little better able to handle that traffic than Schneblin was. But that's also not to say that some of it couldn't be due to confusion right now, backing up a little bit more due to confusion on where people need to go. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So they can get speed and running when the stop sign on Buckeye is it's just astronomical. And it's all parents or neighbors that I've been told are the worst offenders.
Are they saying beginning or end of day?
During the day, it's just frequent and stuff. At school time.
That's what I'm saying. I wanted to, so I can communicate to Washington County. So if they want to put a deputy up there a few times and see where it's like.
Tickets. You're never going to get to the end of it. The other thing is, I still think by sitting and watching the speed bump somewhere around that intersection, if not both sides. Coming to the intersection on either way, or going away from it. Needs to be something to slow you down.
because Buckeye stops on me. Are the speed limit signs new? Because it seems like that's been posted pretty good now.
No, those,
There
there,
started looking, there are plenty of 15-mile-an-hour. signs.
I want to say those were put in a part of the safe routes to school program that we were a part of. I want to say that was something Christine was here for. So it would have been 2021, 2022 over there. And I think when that radar, I guess that sign was put there by the school and there was some wider sidewalks installed. Whenever that was done, I think that there was a lot of signage for those put in there as part of that project.
Seems like 25 is the new 15. For speed, and just on any car that goes through there.
One thing I did mention, the like radar sign grant that the DOT has as an option for us to look at putting on Klepfer around there, around that intersection, similar to like the location we have on Schneblin down there, as a way to hopefully make people more aware of their speed. But if you do get any reports of residents around there that they're seeing, hey, this is someone who seems like they have a habit at this time of day, please let me know. I can get that over to the sheriff's department. They can get a deputy over there.
It's just recently that I've told them, it's fine to tell me that city administrator would be your person that talks to the sheriff's department to get that taken care of,
Well,
or call over there yourself.
most people won't do that, but so unfortunately, but if they do communicate to you of a time of day where you typically see it, let me know. I can get it on the sheriff's department. So
There's a couple of crosses.
crossing guards, yep.
So I don't think that's included.
They've had one crossing guard out there before, and then the other one out by kind of the door area to the school. I don't know if they've added a third one. Recently, I haven't talked to Jane since I guess before the school. I talked to her, met with her the week before school started, and I haven't talked to her since. But I can touch base with her to see if that's changed. But ultimately, how the school handles pickup and the flow of their parking lot is up to them. Yes, it does have traffic implications outside the area on city streets, but I think there's really only so much we can do on there. I mean, they want to cooperate with us, and I think we want to do the same with them. But at the same point, they have their part of it that they're responsible for it. And
Well, I worked to go this afternoon. I really don't think it's right. Took the corner from Schnell to New Street. Pretty fast. Right, and then they went. So they're picking something up there. Maybe they came out with speed data. Sure, that some students cross with one of the situations that speed data. But they have definitely their per one all this if that in the area will do that.
I do know that there's a school always has just like anyone else has a challenge where they have resource constraints, staff constraints, where it's the crossing guards out there is I think it's, as Jane explained it to me, is like a permanent, like it's that person's part of their job to do it, and it's not like they just rotate around faculty to do it. So I'm not sure what it would, if they need an extra crossing guard, what it takes for them to do that, but I know that's something Jane's aware of.
The other thing is.
Mhm.
Were you there for that?
Yes,
Was there a hole by the curb?
yes. So there's
Sure.
there are some of those areas where just due to the nature of asphalt, it can crumble, and we went back and forth with the contractor on whether or not it was cut right or not. I think part of the material it's going to crumble is what we ended up determining. They're still going to cost share us for a patch of the area. We're gonna make it whole by doing, I think, a cold patch on some of those areas, just kind of bring it back up to level, and then it'll be that area will be the schools to I guess maintain for them.
So they said. So,
Brian, when I talked, it was Friday, talked to him, he said he was gonna get some materials and get they're organized. Now there was, Nick, I don't expect you to know, but there was one of the holes that there was still a bit of a concrete form left in here, and we'd need to have that removed before we could do a repair on it. Not sure if I haven't been up there to see if they've gotten that taken out of there yet, but that was, I think, one thing to follow up on there. Yeah,
Yeah,
chair lane.
sure. The whole park capable that's come along that see. Put the notes in, so the, some of the fencing, the perimeter fencing, and a little bit of interior. Sounds like their next step would be to do the paint surfacing or the surfacing on the course, and then they'll finish up the final fencing, is my understanding, and then do the rest of the backfill and seating and stuff. Out of that. So that's coming along pretty well as well. The CDBG downtown revitalization, there's a whole bunch of information in the packet. I'm not up to speed on that, so. What they've got out there.
I'll see what I can provide. Danielle is out of for the city has been our I guess our greatest asset and representative in it, which has been awesome. But that also means that I've kind of stepped back from involvement in it. However, I can speak to some of this. I did want to hit on pickleball court stuff just real quickly. So we did determine that we're going to do a kind of a standard pickleball layout where it's green around there, dark blue in the court area, and then lighter blue in the kitchen. That seems to be well received at other court designs. I know it's not your Highland colors, but they don't have a blowout. Let's see. Think of anything else. There was a couple of those change order topics we had. Brian was able to get Bowker to, I guess, the one that we talked about, getting it back to what the contract rates were for the grading and seating. And it was like 6,000 something what council was comfortable with. They were ended up able to agree on that. So we'll have that back next Monday for formal approval. But other than that, there was also the change order for glass remediation. And after some further thought on it, if you remember when we did the Hall Park master plan, that area up there, up in that area by the barn, we talked about doing a new basketball court. So if the area with the highest concentration of glass issues would potentially be covered in the future by a basketball court or a hard surface, I think it kind of begs the question, is it valuable for us to invest in glass remediation for an area that will potentially be covered up? And I think in this case, it probably makes sense not to go forward with it at this point, other than putting in, new topsoil and grading on it. But Alan also brought up a point in our conversation on Friday about is that an area we potentially put rock that area or another surface? I don't know. I guess I don't feel any way about it. But as long as it's going to, I don't know. I think it's somewhat inevitable to prevent the glass from coming up, but the rock may be another viable solution that would maybe help keep it below it. But yeah.
The rain over our final work underneath this over.
Okay.
On the pickleball court, it's built according to stuff that I don't understand why that would build that so.
Yeah, the where we said it was based on potential improvements to is it
River Street.
Railroad or River, whatever the
River Street.
right along there, as far as how that would intertwine with the courts, and so that's really the confidence looking at. how drainage would handle, and there's a whole bunch of underground utilities on the south side of, River Street. That we didn't want to, or we didn't think we'd be able to, or want to adjust grade along that. They were constrained on the north side by the feed or the co-op or whatever that is on the north side. And so that's really dictating the elevation of the existing street, what the future street would be. Future street would be quite a bit wider than the existing scenario through there, which would push it to the south. And then there was the concept of providing some parking on that south side as well to service that area. And those would tip up to provide the drainage, kind of on the edge of the existing travel way. So that was all of our thought process and where we set that to make it in. So that if that road gets improved and we add parking to it, that, you know, the depression that's there for the drainage would likely get filled up quite a bit, you know, with all the blend in. But that's how we base it up. But it does look a little high in the interim, but there is a reason for it.
All right. I can go over quick stuff for the CDBG downtown revitalization. For the most part, if I'm gonna come back to this first section of the Martin Carter report, but I will look at the timeline first. It seems like most of the properties at this point are waiting on materials to arrive. So we just had selections done within the last month and a half, and I think some of those have been in order, and we've been waiting for materials. There's some of these where masonry is still ongoing, but for the most part, things are waiting materials that are based off selection. Let's see here on the field reports from August 20th. Let's see here. They're showing here, let's see. Pictures here of some investigative demolition, and then some additional scope discovered an area that needs to be patched on the sidewall there on 41 West. Let's see here. I guess I don't really have anything to add to this report, but I'm not sure on when materials are expected at this point, but I think that would be the point of clarification we have right now. But other than that, there is a pay request right now that kind of reflects the amount of work that has been done recently. So at $4,454.98. So we're at a little bit of a stagnation right now, but I think once materials arrive, things should start moving again. But Nick, have you heard anything from Danielle or Brian? Anything else to add in the meanwhile?
No, I would not. Sorry. Sorry. So, investigate demo at 11 East South. So, you know, kind of the work and looks like the payment request is, you know, and compliant to what Cole saying is, you know, kind of slow a little bit, but which is also why the payout is not real nice.
Keep in mind, so I'm looking at on page 21 here, the total sheet, the last page of the pay application document. Keep in mind that these completion percentages or completion items are not weighted to the amount of like time or money taken, but it does indicate that total progress of the project's at 17%. So we're still in the very beginning stages of construction. So keep that in mind. Like I said, that's also not indicating like the weight of some of these other items where masonry is like a whole line item. And for some projects, masonry could be, 30% of the project, or so that's not quite, I guess, equivalent across the board. But just wanted to show that, we're still pretty, like, based off of, build amount, we're still early on in this project.
So what's the completion? The completion date.
I haven't heard any different than what the original, I guess, projection since we started construction, that was for spring of 2026. So, yeah,
That means 7%.
17% is where we're at. I think you're gonna see like materials arriving, start installation of those things. I mean, that's gonna be things moving pretty quick at that point, but I guess without being an active role in a lot of the conversations on this project recently, I don't really feel comfortable, telling you what to expect right now, but I can ask Bethany and Danielle and get some updates on that. Where is it? Correct. Being exterior projects.
So, yeah, these are the three cornerstone commercial contract incorporated for one, CDBG. Bills, Schneider. 5%.
Nick, I think that should do
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
So we have a city council meeting next Monday. I know Brian's gonna be out of country for a little bit. Are you gonna be, is he already gone now, or are you gonna be here next week, or? I don't know. I don't know when he was leaving.
I can look at that.
It's fine.
I think he's still here next Monday.
Okay. That's fine. I just wanted to know if we were gonna see him next week or not. If we see it, it'll be awesome. If not, great too. All right, this is gonna be a quick one. I actually promised this time. So the grant application, I just emailed it out to everyone. And then there's also a link there with some supporting documents that'll get fed into this. This is a rough draft and can be edited, so I am open to any kind of feedback or suggestions you have. But I will say the Riverboat Foundation application is quite limited, given the character constraints for the applicant, like what you can write and the actual files you can submit, I guess, attached to it, which makes it a little more challenging than usual. I did want to take you through just the high level points here. Let's see here. So the total project budget here I have listed as 11.5 million, and you'll see, so that's based off, it's actually broken down in one of the attached documents, but that's based on 9 million. Let's see here. So Brian in one of his attached documents kind of shows a range of potential construction estimates. One was based off of one suggestion at $30 per square foot. And I think it was based off of some recent bids they received. And then another one, there was another estimate up to 10.5 million. I ended up I took the amount that we listed as the total estimate in the bond documents, just to be, I guess, consistent across those. But the general project budget, if put together, $9 million for construction, which could fluctuate depending on bids, And then the engineering and architectural items, Brian estimated out based off of a $10.5 million construction estimate, which for the pre-bond was 354,000, pre-construction 284,000, and then construction phase 236,000. And then I estimated $1 million for FF&E, so fixtures, finishings, and equipment. And then the matching funds, the only matching funds I indicated in here were the like 1.42 million we have in current cash on hand for the project. And then the request I made was for $4 million. I do go for, I guess, get an in-kind. For matching funds, I did explain in the additional information supporting the application that matching funds for this type of project that utilizes debt is challenging to calculate or display accurately, and that is because as I put, due to this project's use of debt, accurately indicating matching funds and the match percentage is difficult because it is based on the final amount of debt utilized and the cost of paying this debt. So total debt utilized is calculated based on the total project cost minus grants, donations, and cash, which leaves us with our principal amount. And I explained that we are assuming a 4.5% interest rate based off our current general obligation bond projections. This interest will be used to calculate the total interest paid. Lastly, we plan on using special tax revenue sources as methods for paying the outstanding principal and interest. Therefore, our final total principal and interest cost could be considered as part of our matching funds, but are difficult to calculate at this point due to the variability in final funding amounts. So depending on the grant we are awarded, that could change things. Depending on other grants we get, could change things. Because that ultimately changes how much do we actually take on in debt, which therefore changes how much interest we're paying. And all of that goes to how much are we actually paying out of special tax revenues, which would be considered cash match. So without those numbers finalized, we can't necessarily indicate that amount, but I also want to mention that in the application to strengthen, I guess, the financial contribution aspect of it, because the 13% matching funds is not actually reflective of the actual funds we'd be putting into the project. It's just what is committed at this point and what we can calculate. And we would, in order for us to get actual, I guess, accurate reflection of those numbers, it would have to be after we go through getting our grants and when we're actually taking on debt at that point. So does that make sense? Ish. Okay. And this is, I think, especially considering the scope of this project and the complexity of it, I'm very grateful that the Revolt Foundation typically offers the opportunity for presentations and be able to actually speak to the board and explain some of these nuances, because the general application isn't quite doesn't allow for that kind of analysis. But anyways, in-kind contributions, I've mentioned time from Wellness Center committee members and city officials, a $21,000 feasibility study that was conducted in 2019 by Carl and Nelson Co., which is used to determine community priorities and preliminary designs. The 5 acres of land that is assessed at $74,900. Printing materials for public information, flyers and signs, and then additionally future operational costs. So I'm sure I could probably come up with other things, but I think they kind of get the point of it. I also did put in there, we would accept a partial grant. Although the implications of accepting a partial grant would impact potentially the long-term success of the project and community by having a higher debt burden, which would mean we would have more money tied up in a P&I payment, which would mean less funds to allocate towards other things like capital projects or other public programs. We would still financially make the project work. I think part of the presentation it would maybe be a good idea to have a figure in what our bottom like feasible amount would be. Because there is a dollar amount where, you know, if we don't reach this level of funding, the project can't work. But at $4 million, it certainly does. So, let's see here. One thing I need to go back and input is the project mission statement. It says mission statement for the organization. I guess cities typically don't have mission statements. I don't know if we have one. Typically it's something a nonprofit has. But I could create something for the project if just
For the, even the steel, gold.
I think I always, I mean, we do have the tagline where the trek begins as one, as I think Ryan mentioned that, but, other than that, here we go. Documentation and matching funds, I put in a bank statement, with redacted account information. The resolution. The resolution of support will be from this meeting as well as, oh, sorry. Yeah, the documents there's quite scale difference in some of those. But okay, the resolution support would be this one, and then I'm also going to include the general obligation bond resolution necessity, just to show show our work that we are going after that as well, and we've taken the steps necessary to do so. Let's see. I mentioned in the additional supporting documents that we'll be going after the $8 million general obligation bond, and our plan is to pay P&I with special tax revenues. I mentioned that we chose the bond amount because we wanted voters to have the confidence if the bond passes, the facility will be built. And then that every supporting dollar we can obtain through grants and donations decreases the amount of debt needed to take on to make the project happen. And we hope the support that from this general obligation bond of generosity of the Washington County Riverboat Foundation would springboard this into a successful capital campaign in 2026, which would help us obtain more donations, which I know they like being a catalyst for projects as well. And then I linked all those cost opinions, site plans, and renderings of the exterior and interior on a link. And I looked through the special interest areas. Frankly, we could have fit in quite a few, like I think 2 or 3 of them. Human and social needs seems to be the one that pulls I guess, best with the Riverboat Foundation board, and also really hits on the community elements of this, which I think they directly mention in that as a facility for families, youth, seniors, and residents of, I guess, all residents is how they describe it. And I didn't really I wish I had more space here, but I wanted to go into it being a hub for community services. So not how it, I guess, I think the presentation will be vital to hit on how this hits each of these segments in the community and what services could be offered to address those needs. So I think that presentation, I think hopefully we can have an application that's strong enough to, I guess, garner us a spot on the presentation. And then we can really hit on some of those big points there. And that'd be a place where it'd be good to have Axiom, OPN, some committee members, a council member or two involved in that. I think showing up with a big diagonal support behind us would be really helpful for the project and mean a lot there. It's true. Recognition. So after conversations, I know we previous work session talked about naming rights for the facility, and I do have concerns with the impacts that would have on the taxable status of or tax or tax exempt status of our general obligation bond, which would result in us paying more interest. So I think it would be best. I've put a Washington Robot Foundation plaque will be placed in the corresponding tier on the donor wall at the completed facility. The Washington Robot Foundation logo will be placed on all project update social media posts. And then the Robot Foundation logo will be placed on the Wellness Center story map webpage with an acknowledgement to the award if granted. I'm sure we
I think we better get the clarification. See if we can stick it in the building, if we, entity, let the building itself. The owners in the city of Riverside, and there's something put out on shipping matter, but they're gonna want to see their name off. If they like this will be good. But I don't know that the names and the other facilities that they have said, but walking in the Riverboat Foundation, yeah. Like that. And that's actually the name of the facility you're saying, not just in recognition for the contribution. No, because well, it's not that we won't recognize that, but the name will, or that's what I'm saying, is let's put their name on it, say, you don't have to build, and doesn't have to be named, that they're gonna want to see their name on.
so we could yeah I think yeah, I mean even so like on an entry sign and having you could have a actual sign itself and then a bar underneath it that could say like funded and explain like the funding and mentioning that underneath there as a way to call out to them. I think there's creative ways that we could provide the visibility that also wouldn't clash with the legality of that would, I guess, put our taxable or tax exempt status into question for the bond. But that's something I can clarify with, I guess, if you are okay with that, I can clarify that with our attorneys this week. And then act accordingly there. But if it's something where I guess I'll ask if they have any concerns about their logo on the outside of the building or on the sign. And I'm not sure how they classify naming rights. So if it's I think if it's still called the Riverside Wellness Center, I think we'd probably be okay. But if it's called the Washington County Riverboat Foundation Wellness Center, that would be probably a concern at that point. But I can ask about that. But as far as impact of funding, I put 2,500 people. I wasn't quite sure how to do that. We have a little over 1,000 in Riverside here, but I also wanted to capture the surrounding area too of people who would potentially use it. I don't know if that's high, that's low, but yeah. What is it? I think it's real. I think it's probably realistic. I think 2,500 is probably realistic. Not necessarily, I think you probably could you could cut the lines however you want, but I think this is probably a realistic number, which is fair. So other than the recognition items, generally, any other comments, concerns, questions, thoughts?
it was, yeah,
Yep.
They cleared out well, but,
Well, if you guys are comfortable with it, I would request that consider the resolution to approve the submission of this pending some minor tweaks I'll make to it to finalize it, but if you're okay with it, for us to move forward on a $4 million ask, I would very much appreciate the support and we'll make it happen. Yep. Whoever wants it.
I make a motion to approve, the grants with them, the market, the vote foundation for the wellness.
But in the 2025 is it?
Number wise, so you're asking,
60.
it would be 63.
63.
Yeah, sorry about that, 64. Sorry, I should have,
64.
I didn't see that one.
Line 4.
Yes.
This clarifies Brian.
Correct. There we go.
Okay, take a roll call vote. Anderson. Right, second, Schneider. No, and then. Reach, then will be submitted, deadline for that is.
Yeah. Yep. I'm not sure, Ryan, you probably know better than I would. I just know that, I would,
So. So. On the in two different groups, they separated two different groups. Then those groups showing up to the full meeting, which I'll be at the full meeting, I'll let you know when it's. And then you are able to make a presentation.
so I will, based off of the timeline of, I think they said November 21st. It's like right before Thanksgiving is when I think the announcements will be made. Based off of that timeline, I'm assuming like late September, early October is when we'll have that first review. And then in October sometime, it's probably won't have presentations. I'll say, yeah, mid to late October, early November, that window would probably be the presentation deadline and then announcement.
Early November.
Okay.
It would be in November if you have to.
And then that announcement of the month there. Yeah.
What is the first information packet one of them?
Like the mailer.
Yeah.
For that, I just got, I put it in the Friday memo. I just got the preliminary, I guess rough draft from OPM last week to review. I sent a few comments back to them and I haven't gotten that was Friday afternoon I sent those. I haven't gotten any updates on those edits yet, but the plan is for it to be sent out yet this month. All right. Anything else before I move on to the next item? We have a transfer of funds from casino fund to capital projects fund. And this is in the amount, so that $464,080.44. That is the total contract values of the pickleball courts at Hall Park and Cherry Extension. So our capital projects fund is not a revenue generating fund other than the interest in it. We have to fund it with other sources. Historically and currently, it primarily comes from casino. So those local option sales tax, hotel motel, gambling and wager. We give portions of those into capital improvements. We have a pretty healthy fund balance currently in casino funds. And we need to transfer some to cover those contracts here. So this, of course, we've had some change orders, but this $464,080.44 would get us back to where we need to be there. So Stephanie, anything to add to this?
No. Transferring this, we do have a little surplus still in with those change orders. We wouldn't have to make another transfer to cover those.
Yep.
To approve transfer of funds of the amount of $464,080.44 to the capital.
Discussion. Roll call vote, Mills. Schneider.
Aye.
Second, Rogers. Aye. Approved.
All right, fall cleanup. The only option that LRS has for a manned cleanup would be October 11th. A manned cleanup will cost $1,800 plus disposal, or the other option would be $300 plus disposal for roll-off containers that they would drop off Friday and then pick up on a Monday. So we've typically done manned ones in the past. I think there's maybe concerns about people dumping things they shouldn't with a non-manned one, but I don't know if that's a $1,500 thing. Like I guess I think it's probably worth trying the unmanned one and seeing if it's worthwhile or not. But
So is the dollars for the container or that's his own?
he didn't specify that. I'm not sure how many containers we would need. Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's per roll-off box. So 3 of them, $900, which would still, I don't know, even if we had a couple incidentals where there were maybe something disposed in there that wasn't, I have to assume we wouldn't have $600 worth of additional issues there. But
One of those.
I mean, I think it does. You could. I mean, if that's your idea of a relaxing weekend, Ryan, you could. But I think it also gives us a little more flexibility than what we've had in the past on cleanups, where I think it's been kind of go on a Saturday morning to pick stuff up, or Friday night to get it over that area before. So hopefully that would give us a little. I know there's been times we've had we need volunteers to pick something up at someone's house because someone's going to be out of town that Saturday, and they got added to the list. And hopefully this would maybe provide a little more flexibility too in scheduling. So also, is Saturday still the best day I mean, is that the best day for everyone to do this sort of thing? Or, I mean, this even allows if someone wanted to, if say, fall cleanup technically begins Friday evening or something like that, it gives people the opportunity to drop off early. But anyways,
So
Monday when they were picking up
where will they?
Hall Park, I think is where we could probably do it. Yeah, down there. Yeah, I think it may work best to do down at the end on Hall Park and have the route go through, I guess, down Ella Street through Hall Park and maybe out onto Pioneer, or I don't know. I think it's trying to like just keep people flowing through. I don't know how busy it gets, but yeah. That's Saturday morning. We could move it down. I mean, I'm open to whatever you guys want to put them. I mean, we could put it closer down, and I said, what's that? I mean, with the roll-offs, we're flexible on when we could do it too. So the man was October 11th, but we could do it really anytime with those, with the roll-offs. But I was thinking if we go down past the ball fields down there, there's a grass area where we could put it down there as well. Just so it's out of the way of anything that potentially could go on. So, what are you guys thinking? 2 or 380?
So regarding the consumers is 300 fees just for the service of having there. And
Plus-
then the adjustment fee.
Yeah, we'll have dump fee on that too.
What is our, you have a clue of what our disposal fee was when they're there with their trucks and
It's-
figures?
What are you asking? What the disposal fee is? I don't know. Tom, it's whatever Johnson County's. Let's see. Tonnage rates. I don't know if you have my Zoom.
What kind of material we're going to be accumulating, there's much, yeah.
What was?
Maybe
I think Sam.
Yeah.
No, it was.
I don't do anything small either, right?
No. I mean, this is something that has been, we've historically done as a convenience to the community. It's, you don't have to do this as a service. It's nice to have, and I think residents appreciate and utilize it, but it's also something like you don't have to, but
Consistency of pulling the users and dropping off as far as moving trends, whether it be steady, increasing.
I don't know. I guess I think it's something people routinely expect when we get calls about it. It's the same people. I don't know. It's time you about drive every time we do it. It seems like it's about the same list of people who utilize it. And I guess I haven't been there on the Saturday morning to see who utilizes it, but I mean, has it seemed like it's been pretty busy the last few times?
We've had to pick up, but also too, I think some of the local scrappers are close to where the two are going. And
Picking stuff up.
no,
I mean, there are some communities that don't do it at all, and they just do the bulk pickup program. Some of them will negotiate a bulky item in the contract where it's you get one free bulky item per week that gets picked up, and then they don't do a city cleanup. I mean, that's also an option, but yeah. I mean, I still think regardless net, unless we get an influx of just dumping off a ton of stuff in our actual I guess disposal fees are outrageous. We shouldn't really expect more cost than previous ones, but
I think it's a good program. Do we need it 2 times a year?
it's a fair question. I just did this as part of since I've been here, we did it twice, and I'm not sure where it started, but is that something we need twice a year?
I would be good with it just in the spring.
I don't feel any way about it, but
I think, well.
action. Okay, we can revisit in the spring. So, um. Lastly, I did get some information, nuisance work session. I think we talked about people getting a list of nuisance properties. I'm not sure if anyone was able to get that part done, but I understand if you were not. I also, this is something to take a bit of a backseat for me as I was out for a bit too, so I completely understand, but I did find out the place to get a bus, Kelowna Chamber, so I can talk to them about renting that. Um, um, Ryan said we can, as long as we have a, I should, I don't know who, what's her name, that rent chamber over in Kelowna. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. Tanya, yeah, Tanya's right. Ryan said that if we have someone who can drive, they would have the CDL with a passenger endorsement. That should be fine. So as of now, we both have Dwight and Brian, who would both be, actually, I don't know if Brian has his passenger endorsement. Dwight certainly does because he drives for Mid Prairie. So, well, it would be city council, Dan, our city attorney, Terry, any other people who joined on. Yeah.
On board.
And you would want to maintain everyone in one vehicle for, I guess, sake of conversation and not splitting what information's being.
It sounds like this is like one.
Yeah. Yeah. Ryan said it worked really well. Dan said that his best would work best in his schedule would be Tuesdays or Wednesdays, and anything but like September 24th. So we could look at towards the end of the month. I don't know if anyone had any preferences there.
What do we got between 15 and 21st?
You're out from Tom.
Or
You're out from the 15th to 21st. Okay.
they don't have anything sooner?
No, I said, so Dan said he can really do most Tuesdays or Wednesdays other than the 24th. So that leaves us, I think the 23rd would probably be the best date considering, yeah.
Take either one of those days.
Would the 23rd, preliminary, whatever the word is, I can't speak at this out. Preliminarily work for everyone. I had to confirm that with Terry and Dan just to make sure that's gonna work, but. Okay, 9:23 preliminarily.
Timeline on that?
Come in. What time? Let me ask, Dan and Terry, because I know Dan's gonna have a little bit of travel, coming down from Cedar Rapids. But I would say probably our usual time. I mean, it's 6, be all right? Okay. One second. Terry, Dan, boy.
You still have my reading of this, you know, we're gonna be doing it.
Yeah. Yes, Stephanie made a point that gives us like what, an hour, hour, 15 minutes of daylight.
At most daylight.
But I think for that might not be bad things. I think it probably would be good if we have a few different properties to make sure that we're moving along, and that we're not parking outside someone's house too long with a bus.
Well, never looked at that. The drive-bys and what they see on the property. You know, you necessarily be more disturbing than that. you can all retaliate and, call back for another discussion
The,
and, towards, the tires, good ones. And the worst two least.
the, I think the major thing is just being like kind of an educational work session, since we do have, at this point, we'll have the final reading of the weeds, fine and brush ordinance. We did pass the, no, we haven't passed the national property maintenance one yet. But anyways, we'll have a couple new nuisance ordinances that would apply to this, and I think it would be a good thing to discuss how those would get applied. And then now that we would have pretty much everyone involved in the process in one bus, it would be good to maybe for educational purposes, talk about what would be the workflow process and getting progress made. And then, yeah, I think getting some input, I think all around getting everyone together to talk about what the steps we did and also what does realistic action look like, would be good. Just make sure we're all on the same page about expectations there. So,
Is that like an hour? 2 or?
I think that would be fine. Yep. Stephanie, probably no need for you to come that night. Other than that, that exhausts my list.
Just a couple questions. We need good information on Paul Park, some of the issues we talked about in the plaque. Anybody know?
Definitely both walked around the concession stand today, and there's no holes in any of the blocks that would indicate that there was ever plaque.
I was just curious, important, so. Do you think it's important that it gets found or gets replaced? Is something talk about?
I will,
How do we live in those, like the bar?
ask Brian about it.
The little Sarah by the.
I'll say, other than Larry who brought it up, I have not talked to anyone who has validated its existence. That it was, I don't know, maybe unless anyone else, I guess, can say differently. I haven't talked to anyone who has said that it has ever existed or is ever placed on there.
I was not able to
let's-
find anything that showed what it was, what it said, where we bought it.
It's serious. I know I've been asked numerous people, about 4 different people, curious about it. But I don't know how many of the whole family are still around to even say. I don't know. I can be done with that topic. I'm just curious if there was anything else that had come up.
So, I was thinking the plaque we were talking about was related to a grant for that, but you're saying there was something related to the park.
I can't confirm that. People don't rightly remember, but they're asking me if there was some plaque at one point.
I guess I don't know if it's worth us spinning our wheels on where a potential plaque, whether it existed or not, where it went or what happened to it. The fact of the matter is it's not there now. Is this an issue that's something we want to prioritize right now? I will say it's an issue that's probably not big enough that it's going to tier very high on my own, or I think probably any of our team's priorities at this point, based off of community center, nuisance, all these other priorities that we were being given as direction. I think if it's something that there was a councilor that wanted to head up, maybe a dedication, designing a plaque, we could certainly look into something like that. But my question is this an issue that's big enough for us to put time into it, or
I was just asking curious, because it is a whole park, it was donated at one time. And I don't want to be part of stepping on family toes or what could have been where the park was supposed to remain. I don't have that information that.
Still
Many
names.
soccer sport all been looked into, you know.
I vaguely remember something on the old. One of the grant, when the grant. And the vitamins from supper. I vaguely remember there being some kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, it was mentioned there was a ceremony. So was the Hall family at the ceremony? Maybe someone from that family could give us more information that would help trigger something.
Regardless, I think if there was a plaque and that was designed and they want to do a rededication ceremony, that could certainly be done, but
Yeah, essentially what they would like on it. Yeah.
The broken record, the Berman's property. Is it confirmed that Hills Bank has a foreclosure on it? There's two people that are wanting to make phone calls and find out what it is gonna be happening with that. Corner, either to be cleaned up, or how do you go about finding out if somebody was interested in that property?
My understanding is it was still under the foreclosure procedure, but
I haven't had a chance to call on it yet, but Ryan stopped by Friday and asked about it, and I just need to get that done, so.
Everything I'm doing is foreclosed.
I also don't know if this is the setting to be having, someone's private, I guess, this is the setting to have that conversation.
Is something the city needs to know about? I mean, it's a city property, it's been nuisance item for 20+. I don't want to keep looking at it, waiting for another 8, 9 years to go by before anything happens with that property, so. Kind of curious, how do you go about?
My assumption is that we're going to discussion.
Okay. Whether the lawyers have been about it, whether they have an opinion or whatever I think needs to get.
Well, if your attorney's going to be there, my question would be, even under foreclosure, someone needs to be responsible for clean, keeping it.
But it's like I said, it's all blank now, but we need guidance. Okay, you got it.
Okay.
Noted, Kevin, thank you.
For me,
How long have we got the street light? I'm running up. Everybody, we agree that's my whole. See what we're talking about.
Kevin, just want me to follow up with Alliant on the cost for them to run power to it.
Pardon?
You just want me to follow up with Alliant on the cost for them to run power to it.
Every time we're down the road. It is good to have some of your opinion. Yeah, we just get some. Yeah. Anybody have anything else? Do we have a motion to adjourn? Anybody? Yeah. Everyone, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Adjourn. 23.
Thank you, Nate.
Yeah, that should be, his name, he hasn't done it. I'll fill in the stuff and, you. Thanks.